Okay, let's unpack this. When we think about, the foundational stories of faith, we often get this picture of a chosen family, blessed, favored, really destined for greatness.
Mhm.
But then you actually open Genesis, chapters 34 through 36, and the family you see is, well, it's visibly falling apart, fundamentally.
That really is the staggering paradox, isn't it? What if the biggest promise God ever made was being carried not by saints, but by maybe the most uh, shockingly dysfunctional family in history?
Right.
Jacob's story here is just messy. It's full of jealousy, revenge, real heartbreak, profound loss. And yet the text shows this quiet, almost stubborn work happening underneath it all, shaping the covenant family out of, well, absolute chaos.
So, our mission in this Bible discussion is to walk right through that chaos. We're looking at the sins of Jacob's sons, the awful heartbreak of Rachel's death, and trying to see the strange, painful way this completely shattered household somehow turns into the 12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah,
It's really a masterclass in understanding how this covenant legacy gets carried forward by incredibly imperfect people.
it really is.
So, the story kicks off with a real shock in Genesis 34. It centers on Jacob's only daughter we know of, Dinah.
Hmm.
She goes out, to see the women of the land, and she's violated by Shechem. He's the son of the local Hivite prince.
Uh,
And he then tries to sort of maneuver a marriage, claims he loves her. But the whole scene is horrifyingly complex. It's this mix of power, shame, manipulation.
and Jacob, the patriarch, when he hears what happened to his daughter, his reaction is, well, it's striking, but maybe not in a good way.
Exactly. The text specifically says he kept silent until his sons got home.
Yeah.
That passivity is such a crucial detail. Jacob seems almost paralyzed. Maybe it's fear, political calculation, or just shock. We don't know for sure.
But his silence, it basically leaves a vacuum, doesn't it?
It does. And it gives space for his son's fury to just ignite.
It's that silence of the father that lets the volatility of the sons, especially Simeon and Levi, two of the older ones, completely take over the story.
They feel the family's honor has been, irreparably stained. And that stain of honor in that culture, that was everything.
Absolutely. So they go to Shechem and his father Hamor, and they don't negotiate honestly at all. They deploy this revenge disguised as righteousness. It's quite something.
How so?
They agree to the marriage, but with this one condition: every single male in Shechem city has to be circumcised. To become one people with them,
It's a trick, obviously a trick.
a brutal one. And the men of Shechem, maybe motivated by Jacob's wealth, his flocks, they actually agree. They all undergo the ritual.
And then,
And then, while the men are incapacitated, weak from the surgery, usually on the third day, Simeon and Levi grab their swords and they slaughter every single man in the city.
wow, everyone.
It's mass violence. And this action, it isn't really about rescuing Dinah. She was already in Shechem's house by then. This is about absolute destructive vengeance. They take plunder, women, children.
And Jacob, he's appalled. But his condemnation is telling, isn't it?
Very telling. He doesn't focus on the morality of the slaughter, the sheer horror of it.
Yeah.
He focuses on his own safety.
Right. He says, "You've brought trouble on me by making me a stench to the inhabitants of the land." Basically, now they're all going to hate us and kill us.
Yeah, I am few in number, and they will gather themselves against me and attack me. That frames the whole conflict perfectly.
You've got the sons acting out of this passionate, maybe bloodthirsty defense of honor,
Hmm.
and the father acting purely out of fear and political calculation. You can just feel the tension, right? The son's fighting for reputation, the father losing control, losing maybe the spiritual high ground of his own household.
Completely losing control.
And this just throws up the central question for us, for
Mm.
you listening. God promised Abraham a nation. That promise went to Isaac. Now, Jacob, the trickster, the holder of the covenant, he has to carry it.
Yeah.
But if the cornerstone is meant to be a holy people, what do we make of this blood soaked beginning? What kind of holy nation starts with a passive father and sons whose hands are literally stained with the blood of an entire city?
It forces us, I think, to confront the reality that God often works with what he has. I mean, this doesn't look like some sacred beginning. It looks like a total collapse.
Right, an end.
An end, yeah. The incredible thing here is that the Bible just doesn't smooth over the failures of its heroes.
Hmm.
Not at all.
No.
It shows us that if you've ever looked at your own family, your own life, and thought, there's just no way God can work through this mess,
Hmm.
that is precisely where Jacob was.
Hmm.
And the text seems to insist that God begins his deepest work right there, right in the middle of our messiest moments, our biggest failures.
So after the slaughter, the family flees. They're terrified, restless, probably expecting this massive reprisal from the surrounding tribe.
Yeah, they must have been.
And here's where it gets really interesting. We see this need for a spiritual reset. God speaks again. He demands Jacob step up as the leader and tells the family to leave the site of their sin. He says, "Arise, go up to Bethel and settle there."
And this is a direct command, isn't it? It's for repentance, for refocusing. And Jacob finally obeys and acts like the spiritual patriarch.
He tells his whole household, and remember, they're now carrying plunder, possibly foreign idols from Shechem, he says. Get rid of the foreign gods you have with you and purify
That's
yourselves.
a huge moment.
Mm.
This spiritual cleanup is a crucial turning point. It's quiet, maybe, but it's this necessary act of corporate repentance.
And they literally bury their rebellion. Their idols, their earrings, may be associated with pagan worship. They hide them under the oak near Shechem. Then they travel to Bethel.
Bethel, the place where God first appeared to Jacob when he was fleeing Esau, right? The house of God.
Exactly. And Jacob builds an altar there, calling the place El Bethel, the God of Bethel. It's this moment of profound reconciliation, physically, spiritually. They're trying to refocus their lives on the covenant God.
But then, immediately after the spiritual high point,
Mhm.
tragedy strikes. It just shatters Jacob's life.
They're traveling, and Rachel, his most beloved wife, goes into labor. The journey's rough, the birth is hard. It's just too much. She gives birth to her second son, but as she's dying, she names him Ben-Oni.
Benoni, which translates just heartbreakingly to son of my sorrow.
Yeah, it just captures her final agonizing moments.
And Jacob, faced with this overwhelming grief, he knows he can't let that sorrow define his son's life, his future.
So he renames the baby immediately Benjamin.
Benjamin, son of my right hand. And this isn't just like a sweet name change, it's a profound theological choice, isn't it?
Absolutely. The right hand symbolizes strength, power, covenant protection. Jacob's actively choosing endurance, choosing covenant hope over just paralyzing grief.
Mm.
He buries her there on the road near Bethlehem, sets up a pillar over her grave, and you get this image. Jacob, the guy who wrestled with God and won, now standing just utterly alone. A widower holding a newborn baby, trying to lead this family that's internally falling apart, even as he's trying to establish them spiritually.
The stakes just couldn't be higher. It's raw.
In the unraveling, it doesn't stop with grief, does it?
No. The text then immediately details this
Hmm.
shocking act of internal defiance, political defiance, really. It comes from Jacob's oldest son, Reuben,
He goes in and sleeps with Bilhah,
his father's concubine.
which sounds like just a horrific personal betrayal. And it is, but the text implies culturally it's much bigger than just a sexual transgression.
How much bigger? What's fascinating here is the political challenge baked into that act.
Right.
It's an explicit, aggressive challenge to the patriarch's authority. In the ancient Near East, taking possession of a leader's wives or concubines, especially if the leader was seen as weakened or dying, was a known way of declaring yourself the successor.
So Reuben is basically saying, I'm the new head of this family now. I'm asserting dominance.
Exactly. It's a power play.
And we're told Jacob heard of it, but again, silence, at least for now. Though we know later this act absolutely seals Reuben's fate. He loses his birthright leadership because of it. So we've just walked through violence, betrayal, grief, usurpation, all this deep, complex family dysfunction. And it is immediately after all this that the narrative pivots.
And gives us the list, the complete list of the 12 sons.
This is the critical moment, isn't it? This fractured, grieving, deeply flawed group, with all their internal grudges, their violent histories, these are formally listed as the foundational tribes of Israel.
They are the covenant people. You've got Simeon and Levi, their zeal led to bloodshed. Reuben forfeits his leadership. Judah, who, as we'll see, has his own profound moral failures later on.
Mm-hmm.
And then Joseph, the dreamer, who becomes the key to their literal survival. It's a bit unbelievable lineup, given the context.
It really forces you to redefine what a chosen people looks like. They aren't chosen because they're holy or perfect.
Not even close.
They're chosen because God's promise is just persistent. God was building a miracle, not despite their mess, but often, it seems, through it.
Exactly. And if you needed any more proof of how unusual and fragile this whole thing is, the very next chapter, Genesis 36, pivots completely.
Yeah, it's kind of jarring.
It gives us the complete detailed list of Esau's descendants, Jacob's brother, the Edomites.
It's such a sudden narrative break. You get pages listing their names, their chiefs, their lands, and significantly, their kings. It looks very established, very stable, like a proper genealogy.
So what does this mean? Why sticks this right here? I think this insertion provides a really powerful, necessary contrast for the listener.
How so?
Well, Esau's line, the Edomites, they seem to rise quickly. They're organized, they have established kings right away, they look powerful and stable. They build a kingdom fast.
While Jacob's group,
Meanwhile, Jacob's group is still this nomadic, dysfunctional family, burying foreign idols and dealing with internal sex scandals and grief. They look weak in comparison,
so the text is maybe showing us that world history often rewards those who look strong immediately. The Edomites get kings right away.
right? But God's covenant promise runs deeper and more stubbornly through Jacob's flawed, grieving, seemingly weaker line. The promise isn't about immediate success or visible stability, it's about persistence across generations.
That's the final takeaway, then, isn't it? God doesn't just use our strengths, He actually redeems failures.
hmm He doesn't need a perfect family to establish his plan. He writes his promise right through the imperfect ones.
So, if you've ever felt like your story, or maybe your family's foundation, was just too messy for any kind of divine purpose, remember Jacob's household.
Yes, remember Jacob. The message of Genesis 34 through 36 seems to be that grace is absolutely stubborn. God does not abandon his promises even when we're actively falling apart.
Wow. So, we've traveled from the blood and betrayal at Shechem, through that spiritual reset at Bethel, the deep solitude of Rachel's grave, and that ultimate act of usurpation by Reuben, from profound family dysfunction straight to the foundation of the 12 tribes.
It's an incredible journey.
Well, thank you for joining us for this Bible discussion.
Thank you.
Next time, we're going to continue this saga and see how hope starts to rise again in the house of Jacob. We'll be having a conversation on Joseph's dreams, God's plan in the pit.
Looking forward to it.
If you found some insight in this discussion today, please do take a moment to like and subscribe. Hitting that bell icon helps you get notifications for new discussions. And please leave us a comment below. Let us know what stands out to you in these foundational and often difficult stories. Until then, keep exploring.